with me today. Hello, you are watching Supernatural Lifeline Revelations, where you know amazing things happen. And today, I can say it's going to be an awesome day because we are here talking about purpose. We have brought in our purpose guru, and we have Dr. Arthur Gray here with us. Welcome, Dr. Arthur Gray.
Thank you.
Oh, Dr. Arthur Gray has so many hats that he wears, but one of the things I thought it was so amazing is that you were a prosecutor, but prosecution was your career, but advocacy for justice is really where your passion is, and you wanted to see people do well and become who God called them to be. And I want to know how you got started. How did you get to this place where you actually left a career, not just your career, not that you left it, because you're still a teacher, you're a family man, you are very in-depth with passion, and you know what your assignment is. And so when you got to this place of purpose, where you're helping people to discover their purpose, how to set up a plan, and how they can implement that plan with the Genesis Project, I would like to know your story of how you got to the place that you are.
Well, thank you for having me on your show, quite frankly. You're a wonderful audience here, wonderful people here. It's just a pleasure to be here, so thank you so much. Life is a journey, and it's about following the course that God has for you, even when you don't really know which way He's taking you. And so I did work as a prosecutor, but even as a prosecutor and the things I've done as an attorney over the years, the Lord still was navigating my path to where I was going, to where I am today, as He does. And so I actually left the district attorney's office. I was actually bivocational with the district attorney's office when I was a prosecutor as well as pastoring a church. And I pastored a church in Inglewood. I was there for 8 years, and then I was with the DA's office for 10 years. Then I started working with our denomination's headquarters. I was an executive. I was an overseer of pastors. And so even in that role, I found myself helping people walk their life and go where they're going. And then I got to a point where I realized, well, I love preaching. Preaching is wonderful, but preaching is primarily informational and inspirational, not necessarily transformational. And transformation is not doing different things, it's doing things differently. So turning your life around and getting a whole different sense of where your life is going. So that's why people can come to church and they can jump and shout and have a great time, but when they walk out the door, what did the preacher say? What do I do differently with my life? So that was always something that was important for me, for that to happen in people's lives. And even in that time, the coaching purpose and gift was developing in me.
And while you were a pastor, you began the coaching of people while you were actually the pastor.
Well, I was doing it, but I didn't know I was doing it.
Okay. What did that look like?
Well, it looked like me. I would have sermon outlines and asking people how are they going to put this into practice in the coming.
Say you had counseling with someone and they're saying, okay, we're going to make our marriage better. And you were like, okay, that sounds good. But what are the steps you're going to take? And you started developing outlines.
Exactly.
Okay.
And for me, and then going to meetings. People have meetings, and a meeting is frustrating to me unless there's some next steps. And so there's always next steps to me. And then after I left working for the denomination, I started teaching. And I met a gentleman by the name of Ray Root, who was the developer of Genesis, where I had to go through a particular program myself called Strategic Futuring. And strategic futuring is like coaching on steroids, where you really begin to get a sense of how to make decisions in life, what your purpose is, get a vision and a plan for where your life is going. And it was in that time that I really discovered that my purpose was coaching. And that's what I've just been working on and doing more of. Now, I do things like a college professor. That coaching is not necessarily in the job description of a college professor,
right,
but I bring my purpose to it.
Yeah. And currently, you're still coaching as a prosecutor. You're actually teaching law classes still.
As a professor, I teach business law, intro to business, and Old Testament survey.
Okay.
So I love the Old Testament. My first pastor was an Old Testament buff, and so it just stuck with me.
I like that.
Yeah.
A lot. I love the Word of God, so it's always going to come down to the Word.
Me too.
Okay, so now you're in this process. You're going through discovering your own purpose. You're seeing it, and it's been in line with your life your entire life. How did you actually discover that coaching was your purpose?
Well, as I said, I was going through the strategic futuring process, and I'm part of the assignment. One of the assignments in strategic futuring is getting a sense of what your mission is. And mission is connected to purpose. Purpose is what you do, and mission is why you do it. And it's
So
always...
is that thing that doesn't go away no matter what? It's always there in life, and you like do it, you would do it for free? Or is that,
Purpose just flows out of you. You don't need to go to college to discover your purpose or to have a purpose. You don't need to have a certain job to have your purpose. You don't need to have a certain ministry position to have your purpose. My purpose comes out of me when I'm sitting at a restaurant. I'm always asking the server, so what else do you do besides this?
Right.
And I'm always asking those kinds of questions, and I find myself asking those kinds of questions. So purpose comes out of you. It's just naturally a part of you. It oozes out of you wherever it just happens to possibly find a place to be.
So all of you who are listening, right now as your brain is moving, you're thinking to yourself, is that why it won't go away? Because is that why it's always a topic? Is that why I'm always doing hair? Is that why I'm always acting? Is that why I'm doing these things? Is that why I'm always talking about health? Because it's a part of my purpose. Okay, got it.
Well, and there are three things, as I've shared with you before.
Yep.
There are three things.
Come on.
There's calling, purpose, and assignment. Calling is what God created you to be. Purpose is what God creates you to do, and assignment is where you do it. Calling never changes. Like with Jeremiah, God in Jeremiah 1:5, I called you to be a prophet to the nation. And it never changes. Purpose expands and develops. Assignment changes all the time. The problem that most people have is they confuse calling with assignment. I'm called to this church. I'm called to this place. Well, you could be there for a long time, but that assignment is temporary. And just like the cloud with the children of Israel moved from place to place, your assignment changes from place to place. Your purpose is something that's a part of you, and it just grows and expands and develops. And you can work on it. I'm a certified life coach because that's just something I wanted to do, because that's a part of what my particular purpose is. Mine has a name. My purpose has a particular name to it. Not everyone's does.
Right.
So you have people, I've talked to some people, and theirs is to bring clarity to confusion. They're just that person. They're always the one that always just brings order. And you go in, they go in a room and they see a desk that's a messy desk. They can't handle that messy desk.
Exactly.
And some people need people like that.
Yes.
I ain't mentioning no names.
Wait, how did you just, okay, that's really interesting. Okay, you spent all of the last 15 minutes with me. How did you know I was like that without even seeing my home or my car? How did you know?
Well, I was watching you in the other room, and like I said to you, your brain goes in 45 directions at one time. And she was talking this and doing this and going different ways. And she had to have people around her who would take the different things that she was thinking and make it so. Kind of like Jean-Luc Picard on Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm sorry, I'm a nerd. But somebody who can actually make it so. You're the one who thinks about it. And so people who think about all these things, visionary.
Yes.
You're a visionary.
Yes.
I'm a visionary as well.
Yes.
And us visionaries, we need people who can take it, listen to our vision, and they put it on a whiteboard, they write it out there, they can make things done. They come back and say, this is done, what can I do now? And they take that and they go, and what's now? And you just sit back and you say, thank you, Jesus, for that person.
You know, it's funny that you're saying this, and it's drawing me back to the very first conference that I ever did. And it literally, I had a dream, and that the Lord woke me up and he said, I saw myself doing this conference, and I said, ooh, that's a lot of work. And I went right back to sleep. So the next night, I have the same dream.
Oh,
and I woke up again, and I said, that seems like a lot of work. And I went back to sleep. The third night, I had it again, and I woke up and said, okay, I'll do it. And the dream stopped. And so I had a meeting, and I called my friend Cynthia, who's a major organizer, and she's here helping me even today. And she put my nice outfits together. She could just see it in the room. It's great. I called my friend Tony. I called another friend. I called like all my few friends together, and I said, here's this on paper. And this person was the graphics person, that person was this. Next thing you know, we had it all whipped together. We had the hotel, we had the food, we had everything, we had the colors. And then I said, you know, God, it was amazing because I didn't have all the money. And a lot of people are waiting for money, but when you're in the middle of purpose, God has to fund your purpose. And so he opens up the door, and we're waiting to have it all, but we don't understand. God needs your faith. He needed me to move and do something like Abraham, and I will show you the place I will go. So next thing that happens, I say out of my mouth, prophetically, not knowing I'm a prophet at the time, I say, you know what, it'd be great if the prophet Joni Ames could be here. And she calls me. I've never met her. She lives in North Carolina. I only met her over the phone, and she says, I'm going to be in California on these dates, and it was the exact dates. So we had her as our main speaker for our first conference, and we all whipped it together. We were a bunch of pharmaceutical reps at the time doing our thing and had no idea I was moving into purpose. The next year I did did 6 conferences, and I had no idea I was going to have a 501c3, and it opened up that one thing, just allowed everything to come forth.
Well, that's why the Bible says we walk by faith. It doesn't say we stand by faith or
Yes.
sit on our rear ends by faith.
Yes.
And you have to take those steps. As we walk by faith, God brings other things. And that's also the thing about purpose. When you're walking in purpose, God just brings all the things to your life. He just brings everything in alignment. I mean, like the children of Israel going into the promised land, they were supposed to go into that promised land, and it was said there was a land flowing with milk and honey.
Yes.
Everything they needed and everything they wanted. And so when you're walking in your purpose, God brings not only the things that you need, but he brings those things that are the desires of your heart as well.
Oh.
When you're walking in your purpose. And this idea of strategic futuring, see, there's 4 kinds of decision making. Am I talking too much?
No, you're doing great. This is what we want to know, right? Decision. Everybody wants to know. We want to know how to maximize our purpose. We're getting a free session from you right now. Tell the world.
I got a bottle of water out of it. Anyway.
You got more.
Okay. There's 4 kinds of decision making. There's reactive decision making.
Okay.
Where you're making a decision on your heels. Oh, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. I got to do that.
Right.
That's where you're making all these things based upon emergencies that are happening in your life. There's what's called reactive. Then there's responsive, where you have a slight second for a pause. Like you're driving someplace and you're in a hurry and you get to a stoplight and you stop and I can go left or I can go right, or a fork in the road, go left and right. So there's a time for a brief pause. Then there's proactive decision making. Proactive is like, I want to go on vacation next year, so I've got to pay my credit card bills down. The 4th and final type of decision making that's most powerful is what's called inventive. Inventive, where you begin to create and build what your life looks like. Now, it's not apart from God. It's as God gives you grace and direction.
Yes.
You begin, like I said, you're walking by faith in what I'm doing. So I begin to, and what we do with strategic futuring is we actually sit with people and have them plan out based upon what their purpose is and what are some of the big rock questions they have in their life. What does their life look like in 4 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road? And if they begin to look at that, then we talk about what are the 5 big rock things you need to do to get there. What do I need to do right now? If one of my big rock or one of my goals to get to, or where my life should be, is I want to finish college. I want to do college. Okay,
right.
Well then, what do you start doing right now? Well, then you contact a college, you look at some catalogs, and you take a course or something of that nature. If I want to lose weight, then okay, what do? You cut out your carbs and go keto or whatever they call it now.
Come to me.
Yeah, or go
Soul
to you.
Health and Resource Center. Lose a pound a day with no exercise.
Go to you. I mean, and there's some places you don't go if you want to lose weight. Like, you don't come to me if you want to lose weight. That's just not where you go. I mean, if you want to gain weight, I can help you there.
You just like to eat. It's okay.
Yeah,
we all love to eat.
I do. But you plan out where you're going. And then you also have to have partners.
Okay, come on.
Partners are people that hold you accountable to what you say you're going to do.
How important
It's critical.
is it?
It's absolutely
What
critical.
about the people that don't feel like, I want to do this on my own and I've got this and I want to teach myself, which I don't really believe. I think Elijah needs Elijah. I need to think that Jethro had to be there to open the door up for Moses. Moses had to open up the door for Joshua. It's an open door policy where somebody else has to unlock you so you could actually truly walk into your destiny.
And it depends on how important is it to you. Because if it's important to you, God will send you those people in your life that will sit with you and just ask you the simple question, how's it going? Because you write out your plans to where you want to go. You write out the things you need to do, because when you're looking where you want to go, you have to start with those 5 things, and you're working on those for the next 90 days. Because once you work on those things for the next 90 days, they begin incorporated into your life. And what you do is you have a conflict. What we do with strategic futuring through Genesis is we have people with their accountability partner. They actually sign an agreement saying that we will meet however often for X period of time. And they meet. And that person, all they have to do is just sit down and ask you, because they know what your goals are, they know where you're looking to get your life, they know what you're trying to do.
Right.
All they do is just say, so how's it going? Now, these have to be people that you can't shuck and jive.
Right.
They know when you're real, and they know when you're not real. And they'll say, come on, girl, stop your minute. Well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I was trying to, but you know that child, you get like this, and they got, say, look, child, stop. Don't do that.
Right.
This is me you're talking to. You got friends like that?
Amen. I do.
And
Thank
you
God.
need to have friends like that in your life that
Yes.
love you. They're not gonna squash your dreams. You don't need people like that. They're not going to be people who say, you can't do that, you're no good. You don't need people like that, but you need people who will say, you know what, I believe you can do this.
Yes.
But I'm here to push you and to encourage you.
Yes.
I need the Caleb and the Joshuas in your life that say, yes, you can do this. God is with you. You can do this.
Yes.
Those are the people you need in your life. And it's important to know who's who. Because just like with Mary, you have some things you have to hide in your heart and not tell them what that vision is, what God's spoken to your heart.
True.
Just keep it there in your heart. Don't squelch it. Don't cover it up. Don't hide it. But some folks you don't share it with.
Absolutely.
You put it out there where it's supposed to go. And so it's important to share with the right people. And once you have it, you start going down the road a certain period of time, and all of a sudden it becomes clear. For me, the idea was to get to coaching. And while I said you write out the plan as to where you're going, it's not etched in stone.
Right.
Because it's vision, and vision is our best picture today of where God is taking us to in the future.
Now, what about when there's obstacles? I mean, I'm a track runner, and I did not ever like running distance. I'm a sprinter, and it's like that in life and in many areas of my life. And I could never understand anybody that ran the 400. I had hats off to them because that's a long race to run that fast, that long. But then somebody would put a hurdle in front of them and jump over it in the process. It just behooved me. But what I did learn is that you could jump over those hurdles and make you stronger, okay? And you could go the further distance. So all that said is like hurdles that come into our life, things that happen in your life, divorce and children passed away, or you're married, you thought the baby's coming, it's not coming. I'm just saying, like, the funding runs out, or the place burns down, and just something that happens tragically. How do you help your people to actually, which I believe is a part of the sharpening process and your growth process and your faith process, and watch God show up if you understand the Lord, but how do you help them when it looks like everything is falling apart, which is part of faith, and it happens a lot?
Well, you really hit it the nail on the head. It is that faith process because, we walk by faith, not by sight, and we walk the direction God is taking us in. And once we're going to hit bumps in the road, we're going to hit detours, we're going to hit obstacles and changes and challenges in life and things of that nature. The point is how do we address those? Because part of getting where we're going and what we're growing into and what we're learning is how to be able to address the challenges. Because with strategic futuring, what we do with strategic futuring, it's a 360-degree full orbed view of a person's life. We look at the past, we look at the present to see where they're going. And what you'll find is that when you begin to sit down and really get a sense of what God is doing in your life, you realize that God has already been at work, taking you to where you're going.
The entire time.
The whole time. You realize that where you're going fits with where you've been. And God was preparing you even when you didn't know it, years ago.
Right.
So you take those things into consideration, and then realizing that the obstacles are part of the process that will help you further enjoy and walk better in the things. Now, the thing about it is, sometimes some things are on the way and some things are in the way.
Oh.
Okay, there's a difference. Some things are things God is bringing to help you better so that when you get to where you're going, that strengthens you to be there.
Is that like, give a biblical example of somebody that's in the way.
Lucifer was in the way. Lucifer was in the way, and Sanballat and Tobiah was in the way. A lot of folks was in the way.
I think like even Judas
was in the way.
Judas was in the way, but it was so amazing because, like you just said, exactly, it was like, what do you say? Judas, whatever you're going to do it quickly. He was like, let's get this over with. It is my time. The time is now. Hurry up. And he did what he did, and then the victory and the resurrection came. And it was like, as soon as you get through that dying process, I mean, when I look through things, I definitely don't look like what I've lived through. And the things I thought might have killed me only made me stronger. And people say it's a saying and a colloquialism, but it's not. I literally have learned to adapt. So when I see people are going through something, I'm like, just keep living. And I have a mentor that's 92 years old. She is I just came from New York seeing her about a week ago, Mama Selena, and she shares all her stories with me. And I remember when I was going through some terrible things, like 10 plus years ago, and she said, baby, just keep on living, it's going to be all right. And I used to be like, why does she always say that? Because she was already 50 years ahead of me,
Right.
and she has kept living when other people died, when her child died from AIDS, when she had cancer, when she almost lost her voice, and then she's in the hospital and she died and came back to life. And so she is constantly seeing how God has made a way from her. And she always says, like, so now her saying is, she says, if this is the last time you see me, I want you to know I have no regrets, and my soul is anchored in the Lord.
Amen. Amen.
And that's what she says every time.
Amen. That's wonderful.
So I listen to her stories because she knew. Now I find myself, when I see people in situations, I'm like, sweetheart, I want you to know it's going to be okay. And they're looking like, how can you say that? I'm like, because I've already been there and I've lived through it, and God's going to make a way. And I just encourage them.
Yes. Well, like I said, some things are meant to help you get stronger so that when you get on the other side, you're able to really to realize it, to enjoy it, to really walk fully in what God has for you.
Right.
So you have to realize some things are in the way. They're trying to distract you, and you have to be careful of those things. But some things are just on the way to where God is helping you grow to what you're supposed to be and understanding the difference. And so it's all a process. And when you have those prophetic partners in your life,
Yes.
those people that can speak into your life, and
Yes.
and they sit and they call you and say, I was just thinking about you, honey. Lord had you on my heart, and they just all of a sudden they drop something in your spirit
Yes.
that is consistent with what you've been going through.
Yes.
Have those people in your life, and it'll those tough times, those challenging times, they'll give you the things that you need to know in the time, so that you can begin to either navigate around that obstacle,
Yes.
or that you can begin to embrace that particular thing because you need it to go to where you're supposed to be going.
And you know, isn't that awesome? Oh, love this.
Yeah.
Amos 3:7 says, the Lord does nothing without letting the prophets know in the earth.
Yes.
So whenever they did anything, whether it be kings, if it was something was mighty is about to happen, either the angel came, but they used a prophet to actually change and shift things in people's lives. So I love, because I remember getting warnings before destruction, 5 in the morning, a prophet calling me and saying, they're going to try to fire you today, but God said, I gave you that job. They can't take it from you. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the job was calling me in, but they could not take my job. And I agreed with the Lord, and I didn't worry. And then on Monday morning, it's like it never even happened. And I went right back to work. And the Lord is so awesome. So I have my spiritual father, Prophet Lobi. He speaks things into my life, and they have helped guide me and direct me. And I really, to have a prophet in your life is one amazing thing. And that's why we say honor the prophets.
Yes.
Honor them. Honor them.
Yes.
Honor them. You know, honor, and I'll give honor what honor is due, because, you know, it's an exchange. That's why they never came to see a prophet without giving them something. They knew, you know, that they were going to give you something greater even back.
Exactly.
Just a word, just by speaking a word or unlocking in the heavenlies.
Exactly.
So I want to know, and I'm sure everybody wants to know, how do you get in touch with you? Because this program is amazing, and I know all of us are sitting here thinking of our projects and the things that we've kind of haven't moved on, and how we can actually launch forward and accomplish them.
Right.
And so how do we get connected with you? Where, what, when, how?
Well,
If you can just look in this camera and you can tell,
Well,
tell the viewers.
you can get in contact with me. You can email me directly at withdrart@gmail.com. That's WITHDRART, no period, no spaces, drart@gmail.com. Or you can go to the Genesis website. That's GENYSYS, Genesis New and Systems. We do vision-based planning for people's lives and organizations. And people need to understand that when you start going about your purpose and trying to really get, because the devil's job is to discourage, destroy, and distract. And once you start to get after your purpose, you know the devil's going to come after you twice as hard. See, I mean, I help people get with their purpose, so he comes after me. So when you get to a whole new level of principalities coming after you when you're trying to walk in your purpose. When you started doing this, you had a whole new level of principalities, demons, devils, in, out, and around hell, friend phone, you know, all those kind of jerkwad demons coming after you. When you're getting into doing this kind of work, there's a whole new level of attack against you. So when you do that, understand that we will be praying with and over you as you get into this. Because this is no joke, folks. This is serious business. You get about what God has for you. So with Dr. Art at gmail.com, or our website, thegenesisgroup.com.
Oh, this is so great. This is so wonderful, because realistically, I've seen, especially with men, and I just wanted to take a second before we actually close and talk about the importance of men, especially right now, finding and discovering, and little boys and growing into their purpose for men, because without it, there's not a sense of value.
Right.
And can you speak to the men that are watching and why it's important, and the mothers that are raising boys at home, why it's important to help your young men discover purpose?
Well, quite frankly, I believe the enemy is doing things to try to rob our men of a sense of their assignment, their destiny, and their place in our society. And the enemy does that by distracting them from their purpose, by stealing you after this and going after all the different things, going after the high skirts. Let's be real.
Right.
You know, going after the this, that, and the other, and things like that. But once you have a sense of purpose, you have a sense of who you are. There's a strength that you have about yourself. There's a sense of destiny and focus that you have that you cannot be distracted from. Once you have that sense of purpose in your life and you know where you're going, no one can tell you otherwise. You know what God has for you, and you feel stronger, reignited, encouraged. And God affirms that purpose in your life every day. Get after the purpose.
You heard it right here on Supernatural Lifeline Revelations. Get after your purpose. Here we are with Dr. Arthur Gray. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed you.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed just listening and growing today. So you're going to have to help me now. You know, I got some things to accomplish. I'm going to need you. You know, I got to change the world. You ready?
Okay, yeah,
okay.
I'm here.
All right. Help me so I can do this.
Do that.
You are here and you're watching with us. We will see you next week at the same time. And you know what? Your timeline can be somebody else's lifeline. I am TNT, Taryn N Tarver, and we are throwing out this Supernatural Lifeline Revelations. Have a blessed day.